How many of you were surprised that the Emmys turned into a big Trump-bashing festival? Nobody, right? I mean, that's what's become of these award shows when Hollywood gets together. It's now become the cool thing to do to bash the president. And if there was any lingering doubt, you know that with Stephen Colbert as the host, I mean, here's a guy whose criticism of Trump has transformed The Late Show from a last place in late night to first place. You knew that he would be driving it. And then you had, Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin calling the president sexist, hypocritical. I mean, they went on and on and on. So none of that is surprising, and I think it's kind of losing its shock value, but it probably makes them all feel good. But what was surprising was the media mob's reaction to Sean Spicer, who, if you haven't seen it, made a cameo for less than a minute, pushed the podium out onto the stage, and talked about how this was the largest crowd ever to watch the Emmys, an obvious play on what he said on the first full day of the administration when President Trump sent him out to lecture the press corps and push back against stories saying that Trump's inaugural crowd was substantially smaller than Barack Obama's crowd when he was first sworn in 2009. Now, that day was hardly Sean Spicer's finest hour. I thought to start off by attacking the press on his very first day, and he had kind of a weak case, was not good, but he works for the president. The president wanted him to do that. But that morphed into, there's really no other word to describe it but a mob. And he really got beaten up by journalists, pundits, entertainers, especially on Twitter, elsewhere, websites like Huffington Post and Slate. How could Sean Spicer, this paid liar, possibly do this? We are normalizing Sean Spicer. I mean, these people are acting like, first of all, they never heard of somebody making a joke at their own expense. They apparently are so infuriated at the president that they have lost any semblance of a sense of humor. But beyond that, they seem to think that Sean Spicer should have a scarlet letter and he should never show his face in public again. He should never work anywhere again. He should be a retail clerk at some department store because they don't like what he did as White House press secretary, and they don't like the president he worked for. Now, look, it's fine to critique Spicer's tenure at the White House. He made some mistakes. He also drew, 4 million people a day when he was driving the president's message. But to go bananas, to go berserk over him telling a joke at the Emmys, it just seems completely out of whack. And by the way, I've covered many administrations. I wrote a book about the Clinton White House. There are hardly any press secretaries in recent decades that have not in some way at some time misled the public, either through omission or outright untruth. They are there to spin. Spin sometimes bleeds over into being misleading. I don't condone that. I think press secretaries should be held accountable by the press. But at this point, he's gone. He is trying to start a new life. It was a hard job for him serving this president. Let's make no mistake about it. But the level of animosity over this single joke at the Emmys was just off the charts. And that's the thing that surprised me about this year's Emmy Awards.